Who decides how our cars are spec'd and what our inventory looks like? By and large, we do. So we're going to shoot a video today explaining how that process works, how we go from getting an allocation for production from Porsche to a finished car on our showroom floor. I'm Colton Tycrobe, and this is Andy Hayter. We're sales consultants with Porsche Center Calgary. So let's get started. Andy, I'll turn it over to you. How does that process get started?
Well, what I like to do first is look at our current inventory. I look at colors first, so we don't order another of the same color typically. And before that, of course, we get the proper allocation, which Lawrence has done a lot of videos on. So I'll look at colors, and maybe Porsche's added a new color or removed a color that we can no longer get. So I'll look at that and kind of base it off of that. Then I'll also look at wheels and order a new wheel, or if there's a high take rate on a wheel that we need to replace, we'll do that. So I'll also look at what we haven't done before, or what's new, or what has Porsche's added. Like on recent Turbo S builds, you can add a carbon fiber wheel option, which is really cool. And we just ordered one of those options, and that car just arrived. So really cool option that we just had released to us. So we'll look at that and go from there.
Yeah, we want to show off what's kind of new and exciting in the showroom. And I would say, yeah, once we've kind of considered that, then we just build something that we think is cool and that excites us. You know, we work for a pretty exciting brand, but we want to make sure that everything is unique and kind of exciting in its own right. So it's often either Andy or Andy and myself will kind of start and build something that's just a really cool car, but then we don't want to monopolize control of what the inventory is going to look like. So then we tend to consult with the other guys on the team and kind of collaborate on what makes sense.
So sometimes we'll get an allocation, and one of us will be excited to do that build, so we'll do it solo and go through the entire build. Like this one time we got a Carrera 4 GTS cab allocation, and I thought this car had to be yellow because on the GTS cars you get a lot of black accents, so I kind of wanted to do this bumblebee type theme, and I ended up with a $200,000 car. And then I consulted and collaborated with my team, and they weren't cool with me ordering a $200,000 yellow car.
Yeah, no, we want the cars to be, as I said, unique and special, but we have to sell them as well. So you know, we have to be very aware that you know, sometimes we'll build these really cool cars and we love it, but then we better love it because we're sitting and looking at it in the showroom for a long time. So, you know, we'll get the other guys, they'll come in and say, okay, cool idea, but let's tweak this or remove this and kind of make it a little bit more reasonable. All right, we don't want to fall into the trap that it's very possible to do, where you're building a car for yourself rather than for the actual end buyer.
Yeah. So the car behind us, we don't want to focus on too much, but so Colton and I built this car, and it's an agate gray car on a black full leather, and there's some really cool pieces on this car. And this is a car where we can talk about from bumper to bumper, and it's just the thought process is from A to Z on this car. So why don't we talk briefly about this car behind us?
Yeah, well, I would say, you know, what, so you talked about starting with color, starting with something that maybe we don't have, so we'll kind of do that, and then we start to look at interior. Most of them will be black because that's what most people want, but we try and spice it up a little bit, maybe with some contrast stitching or something like that. With this one in particular, you'll notice we did the red seat belts. All right, so they pop a little bit, they're a little bit different. And then something I wanted to talk about as well, from there we have packages, right? I'm sure a lot of you have played already with the configurator, and there's a premium package or a premium package plus. A lot of the time, it makes a lot of sense to put those on the car, but depending on our kind of philosophy when we're building that specific one, we might not want to do a package because it will necessitate the power seats, which people often intuitively think, you know, spending over $100,000, of course I want the power seat. But in reality, it's not always the most practical seat.
Not at all. Not at all. You know, manual seats, people like, yeah, like you just said, Colton, $150,000 or whatever the price. Why am I not getting a power seat? This is not always the best case. I've got a manual seat on the 718 Cayman that I personally drive, and it allows me to quickly get out of the car. I share the car with my wife, and she can hop in the car, and her and I are never fighting where the seat position is, because when we get out of the car, it's all the way back. So we hop in, pull the lever down to your right, move forward, and the steering wheel really doesn't move. So, you know, these are things that we have to go through one-on-one with our clients, you guys, to make sure we're choosing the best package or the best seat.
Yeah, with that seat, just one more thing on it before we move on. I really find with our sports cars, you know, they're coupes, they've got really big, long doors. So if you're parked in your garage and it's tight, or in any kind of parking lot, you can only open your door so wide before you're running into the next guy. So I have the manual seat as well. You just pull that lever, slide all the way back. You've got a much easier kind of, you know, way to get out of the car. You don't have to, you just have more room to swing your legs, right? And you don't have to sit there and wait, holding the power, waiting to slide back before you get in and out. So, you know, on the surface of it, the power seat might be the way to go. And on a lot of the cars, we will put it in, but several we won't, because of practicalities like that. And then other kind of added benefits like saving weight. Right, if we're building a GTS and the real focus of that car is to be as sporty as possible, we may forego the power seat, go with the manual one for the practicality, but also the weight savings.
Yeah, exactly. Glass roof, there's a high take rate on this option. I personally wouldn't add it to my own vehicle, but we look at the take rate and we build it into a lot of cars. And so it's put on a lot of cars for inventory. So if you're looking for a car without a sunroof or glass roof, let us know that, or come in and let's order you a car, because it does provide you with a little bit more room or headspace in there, so you fit or more comfortable.
Yeah, there's a lot of features that have benefits but have drawbacks as well. So we try to kind of consider that, and we'll put the stuff on the cars that most people want, like that glass sunroof, if it's going to be for inventory. But if you don't want it, that's probably something that we're going to end up ordering and make it a little bit more specific to your own personal taste, right?
You want to talk about some nice hidden features that we've added to some of the cars, the door sills?
Yeah, so there's a few things that you know, we look at the cars all the time, and on the note of the door sill specifically, I have a 911 myself, a 2017 Carrera 4 that I ordered, so I did have the option to kind of pick everything that I wanted, and I overlooked that one without really thinking about it, because, you know, I don't need to change the door sill. I was trying to be pretty cost effective with my build, but now every day I look at my car and I wish I had the other one. And I hadn't really looked at it and considered that it's pretty inexpensive and really does impact your, I want to say quality of life, which is maybe a stretch, but when you look in, the car just feels that much more finished and special, and we try to be aware of those little details, and when we're building the car, try to be as cohesive as possible, and things like, if we have carbon fiber trim, add the carbon fiber door sill, right? And maybe do the carbon fiber mirror caps and really keep a theme going throughout the entire car. Yeah. If you don't do that, if you have just say a carbon fiber trim, but then your door sill is the standard aluminum one, it feels like maybe somebody wasn't quite thinking. You don't always want to spend the extra money, but we've found it's worth it. You may not even notice it consciously, you know, when you drive the car, if you didn't build it that way, but it's worthwhile for sure.
Yeah, you don't want the car to end up being a party mix of options, so we have to be very thought oriented through the build.
And there's some stuff too, I would say, that we've kind of changed the way that we've ordered the cars, right? We didn't used to put blind spot warning or adaptive cruise in a lot of them, right?
That's right, yeah. So now going into that opens up a big bag of worms, but let's keep it brief. Adaptive cruise control. So this is becoming more and more popular every day. Not a high take rate on the 911s at the moment, just because we tend to get a lot of people in the dealership or coming in, and they don't want these intrusive features. They want a driver's car. They want something more raw. Colton and I spent a lot of time at Infinity and selling Infinities before coming here, and some of those clients have came over to Porsche to order their new cars, and I've learned that a lot of people are turning off those features because they're too intrusive or even annoying sometimes. So we can have a really in-depth conversation to make sure you're adding the correct safety features in your cars. Blind spot warning is another feature that we're adding to, I would say, almost all the cars now.
Pretty much everything, so, yeah.
This is a feature that I personally wouldn't add to a 911 if I'm building the 911 for myself, just because visibility from the driver's seat of out of a 911 is just awesome. I can see everything. Yeah.
The greenhouse is awesome, and I really find, not to go off on a tangent, but with our cars, you really sit in the middle of them, so you get a great you can see everything around you, whereas with a lot of sports cars, you're sitting almost over the rear wheels with so much hood in front of you. So that option is one that, as we said, we put in pretty much all of our cars, and it's a nice option to have. A lot of people want it, but that goes back to what I was saying earlier, where you don't want to fall into that trap of building for yourself, right? We don't necessarily want it day to day, but most of our customers want it, so we will put that in when we're designing a car as well.
We'll even go along the lines of looking at our classic inventory to look at those cars and find some inspiration, or look on Instagram or Porsche's website as well.
Different color combos that we don't see as frequently anymore, but you see a picture pop up of a vintage Porsche of some kind, and it really just pops and kind of draws you in a way that you know, the more mundane stuff doesn't. So we try to incorporate that into some of the new ones as well, and do some kind of throwback designs that I think largely have been pretty well received.
Yeah.
As well, something I wanted to mention is when a new product comes out, right? Generally, Porsche will use pretty much the same color for all of the press material that they do, the videos and photos and everything that they put out. So when we are building our first one, right, like when the GTS came out, like the car behind us for the 991.2, a lot of that was in the Carmine Red. All right, so I think the first car that we did in Carmine Red with a GTS interior package. So when you come into the showroom excited to see that car, it's kind of just like the one that you've been Googling over online, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's okay to be different when you're ordering your cars. We had lots of people coming in saying, "Oh, I'm thinking this." So like, yeah, let's go ahead and try to do that option. We have the special request or CXX. I had this one gentleman come in, and his dream was a 911 Turbo S that was completely blacked out. And as you might know, on the configurator, the Turbo S comes standard with the center lock wheels and a polished face, and that would deter him from buying the car. But we are able to request to Porsche Canada, then Porsche Canada goes to PAG, and we got him his special request and painted the wheels black. It's a pricey way to go about it, but at least the build sheet all matches up. And another route is deviated seat centers. You know, you can special request different leathers and do leathers in paint or leather to sample.
Paint to sample.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of stuff you can do on the configurator. Basically, you know, there's a ton of options which people kind of can get intimidated by, but it's not that bad when we're here to clear some of that up for you. But you can really make the car your own. It's rare, if ever, that we have two that are exactly the same, because there's so much you can do to differentiate them, and we try to make sure we're always doing that when we're building them for stock. But on the note of those CXX options, if you are on the configurator and you're designing your dream Porsche, and it's not quite right, there's a detail that isn't there on the many boxes, and there's some other kind of tweak that you want to do, reach out to us, because it might actually be possible. There are some things that you can make these special requests. They tend to be a little bit expensive, but just by virtue of that too, it means there's virtually none of them out there. Yeah. So you end up with something that possibly worldwide nobody else has, which is pretty cool.
We do, sorry to interrupt, we do get a lot of samples from Porsche that you might need to touch and hold and see in the sunlight. So we do have those paint samples in-house. So we can even, if you're thinking of a paint a sample car, we can even get some paint samples sprayed for you to really make your experience really special. So.
Occasionally we'll do that for inventory as well. We'll bring in a paint to sample, but it is rare. We tend to kind of stick to the standard colors of the metallic ones. So that's kind of what I wanted to get across in this video, kind of that process of what our thought process is, I guess, with building our inventory. Anything else you wanted to touch on?
No, I think that's good.
Well, I hope you guys have found it useful. Let us know what you thought of the video. If you have any feedback about options that we should or shouldn't be ordering, we're always interested to hear that. And about this kind of different format. We've been trying to put a lot of content out there for you guys, and this is just a very different structure that we hope you like. So let us know what you think of that as well. And please, if you did like the video, give us the thumbs up, subscribe to see all the other content we're going to be doing for you in the future.
I'm Andy Hayter, and this is Colton Tycrobe, and thanks for watching Porsche Center Calgary.